Think about why this is true. When you're around someone who is totally positive, at first you may feel positive, but when you remain positive for a very long time, don't you begin to react with some negative feelings? When you're around someone who is so strongly positive, it tends to attract the negative thoughts in our mind to you. We resent them being so perfect, so pumped up, so go-go, so la-la-la. They attract our negative feelings, our unpleasant feelings, and we avoid being around them. When someone is too negative, it tends to attract our positive feelings. We don't want to let them get near us and suck all the positive out of us, or our pleasurable feelings. To a negative person, we avoid them. To a positive person, we tend to avoid them too. Freud says that we avoid negative feelings and we try to search for things that will keep us positive. So how do you deal with these conditions in the real world, where you often find that not only you can't avoid them, that you have to live with them or work with them on a daily basis? The answer is OMA, obsessive mental attitude. By refusing to take too much notice of positive or negative because you have a purpose, it might be just as simple as getting along with the people that you work with. By making that your obsession, you're going to achieve it. Beautiful people often immediately attract our negative feelings because they're just too perfect, they're too positive. This is why all the great stars seem to have some small flaw. A woman can be totally beautiful if she has some small flaws. She cannot be too smart and too ambitious if she's too beautiful. She can, however, be great and sexy. That's the only over-extreme positive thing about women that we'll let them have. We don't want them to be so smart or too bossy or too manly. People often find when they put on the strange surroundings, when they're put in the strange surroundings, they become negative and they react negatively to new situations. That's why children especially hate to move, or adults hate to have to go to strange parties or have change. We almost all hate to be surrounded by too many super successful people or too many beautiful people. And your reactions are the same. They'll always be negative towards these situations. I don't want to be near it. I don't want to be around it. We make fun of people. Remember when Dan Quayle was running for president and he couldn't misspell potatoes? And we made fun of him because he's too positive, he's too good looking, he's too young. All the things we said, because we just knew, even though he was a Harvard graduate, that he couldn't spell potato. You know, I don't think he deserves to have that much negative things put on him and to be ridiculed because of something negative in his life. But that's what happens when you're relying upon only positive and negative. It just goes up and down and floats around. And nothing will make you more frustrated than to watch the press make you think you're an idiot because you don't agree with their ideological statements. Now, OMA is the only thing that will get you through that. When you're obsessed, well, they can talk bad about me all they want. When they talk about Rush Limbaugh, he just lets it roll off his shoulder. He knows they're never going to say a positive thing about it. You know, he knows they're never going to say anything positive about him. And so he's come to expect that because he's let his obsession with being the top radio talk host in the world rule his life. A major difference between OMA and PMA in the morning is when you wake up, in PMA you have to say your affirmations, you have to do your mantras, you have to say your prayers, you have to do everything that's necessary. And if you don't do these things daily, you may forget what you really were supposed to be doing. You may forget that you were positive and you go out there and be negative. When you wake up with an obsession, the first thing on your mind is what you're trying to achieve. You don't need to read affirmations. You don't need to say the new prayers. You don't need to hum. You don't need to go to a PMA meeting. You're ready for it to do. The daylight's all you need to get going. You can work in the night. William James, the famous philosopher, said, "The belief at the beginning of any endeavor is the one thing that determines its success." Bull. The PMA tell you people that's true. You got to start out with a positive attitude that you're going to succeed no matter what. It's just bull. It doesn't matter what you thought about something when you first thought of it. It's what you do after you think of it. You've probably never started a project without feeling positive about the experience and expected great results. When did you ever start something you said, I just know I'm going to fail and there's no sense in trying? How many times have you had a new idea or a new invention or a new thing that you weren't super successful and super excited about it being successful? It happens every time, and it doesn't work because you're only relying upon that thought to make something happen instead of using an obsession. Listen, this is really important. The reason you are not successful is that you've never had an opportunity to be successful that you pursued with an obsessive mental attitude. The reason you're not successful is you've never had the right opportunity to be successful that you pursued with an obsessive mental attitude. Here's a better quote than what James just said. The obsessive mental attitude at the beginning of an endeavor is the only thing that will determine its success. There is only one reason for success, not luck, not positive mental attitude, not environment, not personality, not friends, not influence, not education. what makes you successful is that you are determined to get it done, to keep doing it no matter what happens. When you start it, you finish it. If someone says a negative thought, it doesn't bother you, cancel it. If someone says something positive, it doesn't bother you, cancel that. You don't get too high, you don't get too low. You just keep charging right ahead. You can do that with OMA. You can't do that with PMA. You can't do that when you're being influenced by negative thoughts. That's why so many problems exist, because when you're trying to pursue something with a positive mental attitude, you're going to cancel yourself out all the time. Norman Vincent Peale says that most people fail because they do not wholeheartedly expect to succeed. And he also says that people lose games that they don't score as many points as their opponents. No, I made that up. Both statements are true, but the conclusion about the personal success and failure is wrong. You don't fail because you wouldn't wholeheartedly expect to succeed. You fail because you didn't work hard enough to succeed. I cannot, after reading hundreds of books on PMA and books by Norman Vincent Peale, stay positive for 2 hours in a row, and neither can you. So how can you believe all the other stuff in his book is true when his entire premise is that you have to stay positive in order to succeed? You have to understand that you can't do anything wholeheartedly or with your full power if you're only relying on PMA. The negative will always cancel out the positive. Only with an obsession will you become totally, wholeheartedly, fully behind the endeavor. I dare to say that few, if any of you, have ever had the experience of being in total, absolute control of your thoughts and your physical activities. And thus, you've never had that feeling of being in the zone. And when you're in the zone, all the things of the world just vanish. You're just hitting the home runs, you're making the putts, you're making the business work, you're making things succeed. And yet we've all had difficulties in our lives where we couldn't be in any type of zone, where we couldn't pay attention in class, where we couldn't make anything work. The positive and negative and stuff. It's only when you have that obsession that you can stay on an even keel and continue to work. You know how hard it is to have absolute control over your mind. There are times when we feel that we have complete control and focus, but those are few and far between. You know, whenever you're trying to, when you really feel focused, when you're doing something that you really want to be doing, like having sex or playing a sport that you like, or when you're very angry, or when you're fighting or doing something, when you're just only absorbed in that one particular thing. That's what it's like to be obsessed. That's what it's like to work when you obsess. When you use the power of obsession, you learn how to achieve things without relying upon feelings, and you'll learn how to control your will, because you're controlling your will with your mind. Keep your mind on the things you want and off the things you don't. That's what an obsession will do. It'll let you keep your mind on the things you want and off the things you don't. Imagine how far you could go if you were totally focused, all your mental and physical activity, on making an A in the class, on doing your homework, on being successful in your work. It's not impossible if you use OMA. It is impossible if you only rely upon PMA. Keep your mind on the things that you want and off the things you don't want. Imagine, how far could you go if you were able to completely focus all of your mental and physical activity on your job, on your work, on your family, on your business? Unless you use the power of OMA, you cannot focus and concentrate 100% on a single thought all day long. Here's an example. Write your goals down. Write your deepest desires and goals down on a sheet of paper. Be very specific and write down all your greatest desires, goals, dreams. Then look at it very hard. Take a deep breath and say, every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better and closer to these things happen. And now, most importantly, take that sheet of paper, fold it over 2 times until it looks sort of like a folded up handkerchief. Now, blow your nose in it, because you're no more going to achieve those goals you just wrote down than you are going to fly. Why? Because if you have to write them down, you don't have them down. If you can't remember them, if you're not obsessed with them, you'll never achieve them. The only way you're ever going to reach your goals is if they are an obsession. The authors of PMA books insist that you write down your goals and refer to them daily unless you lose sight of them. You've probably heard about a study done that would analyze all the rich people in America and could find no similar characteristic. No sex, no education, no background, no height, no age, no ethnicity, no location. The only thing that they found that all these people had written specific goals with a precise, concise plan of action and days to achieve them. Now this study is the primary selling point for all the motivational sales companies. I used to work for one in the 1970s, that'll remain nameless, out of Waco, where clients went through a 2-day program and they were basically taught this utterly false conclusion. They were told that the only reason they were not successful, the only reason they were not millionaires, is that they did not learn to write their goals down and in such a detail and follow them to implement them. That's it. You just didn't know how to write your goals, and that's why you're not successful. Well, goal setting is the easiest, most profitable PMA scam on the market today, and it simply is not necessary. Yes, you have to write down how you're going to do something because it's called a plan of action, but it's not going to make you successful. Once you become obsessed with your goals, nothing will distract you from achieving what you did write down. Just writing does nothing. Goals are nothing more than work plans that must be carried out by physical, mental, and spiritual labor. Your ability to write a work plan has nothing to do with your ability to achieve it. We're all capable of writing down that you can run 100 yards in 10 seconds. But we're physically prevented from doing so. No matter how well we write it down, no matter how positive we try to stay. Using the fact that you don't have specific goals written down with a reason that the reason that you're not successful is you didn't write your goals down right, is just a PMA lie. It's just not true. It's not going to happen. That's not why you're not successful. You writing down goals, don't get me wrong. If your goal is an obsession, you're going to remember it, you're going to work on it, and you can achieve it every day. You're going to do everything it takes to make it successful. If it's just something you wrote on a piece of paper, your boss said, John, I want you to make 10 sales this month, and to do that, you got to make 500 phone calls. You know, no, man, I can't. I hate making these phone calls. I hate being on this phone. I hate my boss. I hate this place. I don't think you're going to achieve that, even though you wrote it down. Even the names of the people and the times you're going to call. If you were obsessed with making 10 sales, well, you'd take the phone book out and you would just charge right through it. You know, the insurance guys that are the most successful are the ones that think that no means, I didn't hear you right, keep telling me more. And when you say, no, I'm not interested, leave me alone, to them that means, oh, you didn't explain it good enough, keep telling me more. And you say, well, that's crazy. But you know what? Your children do it. Daddy, give me $1. No. Give me $1. No. Give me $1. No. Give me $1. No. Give me $1. And they're successful. 90 times out of 100, they'll get the $1. Same thing with the insurance guys. You want to buy this policy? No. Want to buy this policy? No. Want to buy this policy? No. They keep pushing until they get the sale. They're obsessed with making the sale. The child's obsessed with getting the $1 to get the candy. That's the power of an obsession. That's how easy it is. It doesn't have to be complicated. You don't have to buy 50,000 books. You don't have to go to $500 lectures. You don't have to pay $25,000 to be Anthony Robbins' friend and travel around the world with him, so he might just let some of his magic roll off on you. All you got to do is be obsessed with being successful. The biggest scam in the world is telling people how to make money. It's not actually doing it. It's telling them how to do it. Well, the greatest thing in the world, and it always amazes me, is the people that are selling the real estate courses. You know, buy the foreclosed house. You can buy a house with no money down, no credit, no building, no brains, nothing. And there'll be thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that go through these classes, and not a one of them ever buy a house. And yet, every single time, there's somebody in that audience who comes up and says, I just bought 10 houses, Billy Bob. And you go, oh my God. How did he do it? I don't know. I have no idea. I think it's exactly the same as winning the lottery. If it was true you could buy a house with no money down, no credit, no nothing, why doesn't the guy doing the lecture buy every house in America? Just hire people. Don't teach them. Hire them and say, go out and buy every house, put them in my name. He owned every house in the country. It's a scam. And yet there's always some schmuck in the audience that's going, I just bought 10 houses, Billy Bob, I'm worth $1 billion. And the other 999,000 people didn't get a house and didn't make a single dime. You know why? Because he's selling positive feeling. Oh boy, we can do buy a house. First thing you go out and go to the bank, hey, I saw that house on the corner, I want to buy it. Well, what's your background? How much money you get? Nothing. I ain't selling to you. Oh, I saw that house on the corner, I want to buy it. What do you do for a living? I'm a vagrant. I don't think I can say that house. Oh, well, Billy Bob just bought 20 of them. It's a scam. Doesn't work. And yet there's always someone that's successful. It's just the lottery. Think of it like that. It's the lottery. They won the lottery. They got lucky. It doesn't work. If it did work, the guy doing it would buy every house in America. The person giving the PMA lecture would be the most richest person in the world. And yet most of them are broke. Most of them are doing this to make their next paycheck. If they knew all the secrets, if all it took was a positive mental attitude and reading their stupid books, why aren't they billionaires? And why is it 100% of the people that buy their program billionaires? They can't be because the program doesn't work. You can never achieve anything great by just thinking positive thoughts. You have to make it an obsession. You have to make buying those houses an obsession. You have to make that sale an obsession. You have to make your family work an obsession. And you'll always make it your possession.